All right. So again, welcome everybody to the Film and Photography Preservation and Collections Management Information Session online. I am Daniel Garcia. I'm the Graduate Program Administrator for F+PPCM. And we have here Marta Braun, Program Director, Thierry Gervais, Associate Program Director, and Alexandra Gooding, recent graduate from the program as well, to answer some questions, speak to you about the program, and pretty much answer any questions you guys have. So we'll do the process. We will do a quick introduction about the program, some basic information you'll want to know, and then we'll do a Q&A session so that you can basically ask any questions that you guys have. If you could use the chat function to enter your questions, that'd be fantastic, and I'll go through them after and make sure that all of them are answered. And also, just to remind you, if you could please keep your mics off unless you're asking a question, just so that we don't, speak over each other and we can have an easier experience. All right, so with that, thank you very much. And I'll start with Marta Braun, Program Director. Go ahead, Marta, take it out.
Thanks, Danielle. I was very impressed by the fact that you said film and photography preservation and collections management without drawing breath. That was so good. So we say F+PPCM, and when I get to know you better, I'll tell you the whole history of the program. But essentially, I'm assuming that you have seen something about the program. Number one, it's a 2-year program. Number two, the core, the heart, the center of the program is the professional education that the students have at collecting institutions, whether that's a library, a museum, a community archive. What am I missing? Anyway, an institution which collects films or collects photographs. Between your first and second year, you'll spend 6 to 8 weeks in an institution, and then at the end of your second year, from January until June, it is 6 months in a collecting institution, being trained by the professionals in that institution and doing research or working on a practical project for yourself, for the program, a thesis project in that institution. So that's what we call our residency component. And the internship between first and second year is the internship component. And the person in charge of both those components is Thierry Gervais. So we like to think of that, Alex, I don't know if you agree, but that's really the advantage of this program, that we provide courses. We teach courses in 2 semesters in first year and 1 semester in second year that provide you with the history and the theory and the collections and the digital preservation of films and photographs. But then you get to actually be professionally trained on the spot. Alex, since you've done that, if you want to add to it.
Sure. So I think what Marta's saying is correct. The courses really complement the professional experience. So the courses are much more rigorous, a lot of reading, a lot of research, writing, really honing in on academic research. There are 1 or 2, actually I guess it's about 3 or 4 classes that are more hands-on, where you're dealing with, you're learning some of the basics of preservation. So before you go into your residency, so you do go armed with some skills, but you're really looking to put those skills into practice at an institution. And what you learn quickly, even between the 2 institutions of your internship and your residency, is that every institution operates differently. So you'll get a chance to see not just how one place does it, but how 2 places do it, which is really interesting.
Thierry.
Well, between the 2 of you, I think you said a lot about the residency and the internship programs. I think indeed that they are the center of the program. It's what attract, I think, students, because we are offering many different places, in archives, in museums, in community centers even. So we are trying to provide you with a very large panel of possibilities for both internship and residency. It's important to make the distinction between the 2 of them, because as Marta said, the first one is happening at the end of the first year. So basically you know what you want to do, but not totally, okay, and you might want to try something also, and an internship is good for that. The residency is really something which is embedded in the program because you have some kind of professional training, but you're also working on your thesis, and then you want that to be very strong. We have local partners, we have national partners, we have international partners. Um, I mean, the sky is the limit, most of. I mean, that's how I would put it. We have a list of partners, so you choose among them, but we also develop, partnerships with institutions that you might be interested in. We, in the past, had students who wanted to go to India, and first that it wasn't part of our list, but we developed, a partnership with the museum in Dharamsala. That wasn't expected, and it went super well. So just to say that we could work with the Metropolitan Museum of Art. We could work with the Eye Museum, in Amsterdam, so big institution in both film and photography. We could work, with national institutions here, like Bank in Montreal, or the National Gallery of Canada in Ottawa, or locally with the Art Gallery of Ontario, or the Ryerson Image Center, or TIFF, of course. And again, different kind of institutions.
Jerry, you mentioned institutions that are collecting photographs, and you mentioned institutions that are collecting films. And I think it's important that everybody who's here understands that we do have two streams, but that you have to choose a stream, that these are separate streams in the program. I didn't mention that. So iMuseum, of course, is only in Amsterdam, is only for film students, and the Metropolitan Museum in New York, so far we've only placed our stills students in that residency. So just to reiterate, we don't know what in fact, I'm just looking at a screen of names and a couple of faces. Thank you very much, those of you who I can see, but we don't know yet, and we hope you'll ask what actually of film or photography you are interested in. I do want to convey, though, that they are separate. There are some common courses, cataloging, what did I just say? Cataloging, horsing, no, cataloging, digital preservation, those are common courses, research methods, for example, but your courses are specialized, and often we get students who would love to do both, and sadly, you can't. Sorry, back to you. I interrupted you, Jerry.
I mean, I could talk about residency and internship for a very long time.
Oh, but don't.
It's the goal of our meeting. I just wanted to open that box and tell you a bit about the main aspect of these placements, internship and residency.
See another face, it's so great. Sorry.
Hi, Melissa. And,
Hi, Melissa.
But I think it's more a moment for you to ask questions, because again, I could talk about that, for a very long time, but I'm going to be boring very soon.
We're all going to be boring very soon, except for Alex, who has actually gone through the program, graduated with great distinction just a month ago, and has won a great award at the university. So she's a person that you can really talk to. Hi, Tazine. This is so great. Okay.
I'm just before we go into questions, I'm going to add one last thing on residencies and internships, because I think it's something that someone might ask. So I'm going to just jump the gun there. One of the core distinctions is that you don't choose your residency for the place that you're going as much as you choose the residency for the thing that you want to research, because that is where your thesis work is going to be going. So if you know that you want to I'll use myself as an example. I knew that I wanted to focus on Caribbean photographs. There's not a lot of places, at least in Canada, that have Caribbean photograph collections. So my task was to find somewhere that has that type of collection that I know I can research. And then the professional education is sort of like the added bonus. So just keep that in mind. Whereas with an internship, you're not necessarily working on your own research project. You're really just going for the hands-on experience. So think about if you want to end up in a large institution, a community archive, and the type of experience you hope to get. And that's the last thing I'll say for now on those things.
Well, then I want to follow up very quickly, because I think another distinction that you need to know is, if you really choose your internship on your own, it's your choice. We discussed that. We advise you if you want. The placement of your residency is something very specific to the program. You need to understand that the internships are programs that are created by the institution where you're going, when your residency placement is a partnership between our two institutions. So only you can do this, which means that it's also a three-part conversation. It's not only you decided to go, in an institution. It's something that we discuss with the institution and with us as a program director to make sure that it's a good fit for both you and the institution. We don't want you to, come to us after a month saying, you know what, it really doesn't work. Okay, that it's too late. We don't want that. We want to make sure that it's working. And basically, your choice is made a few months before going there, in order for you to start working on your thesis, start knowing the institution, in order for you to, when you arrive there, be efficient and take advantage of, the institution and your places.
And I think
this is my last word.
Oh, thank God. I think Alex is going to agree with me that I'm glad to see all of these faces. I think Alex would agree with me. I hope you will, that we try to elicit from you, from the very first day that you're in the program, what are you interested in? What are you interested in? Where would you like to be working in 5 years? How do you see yourself? So that we can help with your residency, that it'll be a place where you want to be, and that you'll be successful at. The other thing I want to address that Thierry mentioned is the thesis, because I don't want that to be a terrifying element. We don't usually ask for academic thesis papers. You can do that if you want, and we'll be happy to work with you on that. But a lot of students work on a project, and the thesis is actually a description of the work they have done. Film handling, film digitizing, photographic
reorganization,
cataloging, housing. For example, we have had students who have come in the very first day and said, I am just in love with encased photographs. That's all I want to work on. And that's absolutely great. They'll find an institution where they can work with encased photographs, write about them, write what the work is. And at the same time, the other half of the week, they will be doing tasks that institution will set them out to do. Okay, shall we move to questions?
I think
Alex,
so.
did you agree with me, by the way, on that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, the last thing I'll say is, if you're here for sort of one piece of advice, the best piece of advice I could give you before you even apply or start to think about this program is to figure out what it is that you hope to get out of it and where you hope to be in 5 years. Because from day one, Thierry and Marta will start asking you, where do you see yourself working? What do you want to research? So if you have a sense of that, it will help you.
But don't be scared too. I mean,
No.
I think that we are working with you. We are indeed questioning you, challenging you all the time. I think that's why you are going to school. But by the end, when you will be leaving the program, you will have a few lines on your resume. Not only, you know, master MA in F+PPCM. I won't develop the F+PPCM. You will have also, you know, what students are looking for, which is the first professional experience. Because you will be able to say, I worked for 6 months, I don't know, at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. I think it's a great first line to start, you know, a professional career. So that's what we are working on. And that's our goal. We want you to leave that program with the line you want and need on your resume.
Excellent. So now, everybody, so if you guys have any question, by all means, you can either enter in the chat or feel free to unmute yourself and ask a question live. That's fine too. Now, before we get started that, I'll mention just something quickly about admissions. I'm more on the administration side of things, as you can tell. So just quickly, so you know, the admissions process, all the information is on the website. I'll put the website on the, I'm sure you visited there, but I'll put it on the chat in a little bit. But basically, just I remind you of two things. One is that the admissions process is a two-stage process. So you have to apply. So start your application through the YSUS website, so our graduate studies website. That will send you to the Ontario University's administration system, or OUAC, whatever the actual acronym stands for. But it'll send you there to actually start the application. That basically tells Ryerson that you want to apply. Then Ryerson will send you an email with information of how to actually upload your documents, your resume, CV, all that kind of stuff, right? So just keep that in mind when you're doing your application. It's a two-step process, and it usually takes between 3 to 5 days, business days, between step 1 and step 2. So don't leave it to last minute. Basically, that's where I'm going with this. Second thing to mention is the deadlines is equal consideration deadline is January 18th. The most important part about that deadline is that if you apply at that date, we are able to consider you for all the scholarships that are available. If you apply after that date, we may not, depending on when you apply. Even if the program does stay open for a little bit longer after January 18, you may still be able to submit your application, but not everything will be available in terms of like scholarships and things like that, just because there's some deadlines in between that we have to follow as well. Okay, so just keep that in mind. And yeah, if you have any questions, anything at the end, please put them in the chat and we can get started with that. So.
Oh God, there's a question.
All right, there's a question. So from Melissa. Thank you, Melissa. I was wondering if the photography stream also works with film negatives.
I can jump in on this. Hi, Melissa. I can't see where your face is on the screen, but I know it's here somewhere. So when we talk about photography, yes, we're not just talking about prints. We're talking about everything within the photographic medium. Sort of any process you can think of, from daguerreotypes right up to digital photography, negatives, positives. One aspect in the digital preservation course really covers digitizing images, prints and negatives very well as well. So we're definitely very cognizant of all aspects of the medium.
Does that answer your question?
I know, I'm trying to see where she is. Okay, there we go.
Okay.
I think we could add that we talk about all the different aspects of the photographic image. It could be negative, different kind of prints. It could be the reproduction in magazines, all of them.
Ooh, that's a hard question.
What's a hard question? Oh, there's more questions.
Yeah, there's more questions coming in.
Oh, good.
This is for Alex.
Oh, but yeah,
all the questions are going to be for Alex. She's
experienced
it.
Oh gosh.
I mean,
okay. Okay. Samantha, I'm just going to look at the camera because I don't know where everyone is, but my experience was very different. So just to give some context, I basically graduated from an undergraduate program in photography at Ryerson in 2015. And I knew before I even graduated that I wanted to do this master's program. The only thing stopping me was that I was an international student at the time, and I basically chose to wait 3 years until I got permanent residency so that I would be eligible for scholarships. So really the only thing I did to prepare was lust after it for about 3.5 years and dream about getting my immigration status. That being said, that entire time, my research ideas were percolating. It's really not critical that you go in, you know, when you write your application, you may have an idea of what you want to research, but I know 95% of my classmates had no idea. And maybe the other 5% wrote what they thought they wanted to do, and then they wound up doing something completely different. I think, and Marta and Thierry can perhaps speak to this bit, but I think really what the jury committee is looking for is that you have a curious mind and that you are aware of there's something that you want to learn and that you want to research, and that you're capable of thinking that way.
I think it's a very important question. We're not looking for you to prepare for the program. We're looking for you to fit into the program, because the program is scary and arduous. I probably shouldn't say that. I should probably say it's just,
it's intense. It's intense.
So you have to want to do it. So therefore, it doesn't matter what your background is or your undergraduate work. We have people like Alex who are studio people, BFAs, and we have BAs from every possible humanities and actually science.
Had people from sciences before.
Yeah, and everything. So that's not the issue. What we would like to see is, are you interested? And how you can show us that is, have you done any volunteer work in a museum or a library or an archive or community? Like, what is it actually that you are committed to? Can you be passionate about this medium? Because you have to be when you get into the program. So it doesn't really matter about what background you have. It's how you can demonstrate that interest. Now, some people, the application process does fund according to academic results. So that's there too. But what we really are looking for are people who are the right fit for the program, who know more or less what they're going to encounter when they get there. Thierry, do you want to add to that?
No, I was trying to think about examples of students, and I remember Anna Kazulnik, who came without any experience in photography, but really willing to be, taught. And she's now the assistant curator at the Victoria and Albert Museum.
Yeah, her background was in music.
In music.
Yeah.
And which is one of the most prestigious, place in terms of photography collection. So that's possible.
Okay, Marta, I'm gonna let you talk about on campus.
The next question says, hi from Philadelphia. What kind of experience, background are prospective students expected to have for film preservation? It's essentially the same story, but I have to say that in the film program, we tend to get more people who have actually done an undergraduate degree in film studies. That's because there isn't one in photography. There's only studio, there's only BFAs in photography. In film, there are plenty of BAs in departments all over the world. So this year, actually, Philadelphia, we have a student from Florida and a student from Salem. So I can certainly put you in touch with them and they can tell you their experience. And I'm happy to put any of you, by the way, in touch with the students who are currently here. And then the next question is about the lockdown situation, but I'm going to go back to that because I'm sure everybody is interested in that, but there's a question that I want to answer right away. It's about the part-time study options. The answer to that question is we don't have any. Okay, so right away, dismissed. It's a program that is consecutive, it's lockstep, 4 courses in the fall, 4 courses in the winter, internship, 4 courses in the fall, residency. And it can't be done part-time because all the courses are in sequence that build up to the various outcomes. So we don't have part-time. Okay, so let's go back to lockdown. Who wants to talk about lockdown?
I can't.
I can talk about it a bit because you can imagine that now you have a sense of the professionally oriented program, how we are hands-on. So we've been working on that, over the last 8 months nonstop. How are we proceeding? Well, we have secured space in Ryerson where only us can come. Okay. And in that space, we have equipped that space for the faculty to be able to teach, to 12 students and more, up to 15. And at the same time, the instructor is zooming in, which means that if you're not here, like this year, we have students who are still in Miami, you can attend, synchronously. And if you can't, be there live, the thing is recorded, so you can access it later. If your question is, are we still doing hands-on work? The answer is yes, but it's up to the faculty and the students. We are not forcing both the faculty or the students to deliver courses physically in that room. It's possible. We've made everything for that to be possible, but we wouldn't dare forcing anyone, to do it in such circumstances. You need to know that we are the only program at Ryerson and almost the only school, correct me if I'm wrong, Marta, to offer a hybrid delivery of the courses.
Yeah, we
But
have.
I think we've done that, in a very secure manner.
We have hands-on courses, particularly in film, but in both film and photo. And we've had to teach, as Thierry explained, we set up a situation which we colonized a space, said it's ours. We could ventilate it with open windows. It had toilets at each end. It had social distancing. It had spray and wipes and everything. It was safe. We had a protocol how to get in and out, et cetera, et cetera. It's a boring thing, but there were 2 students in the film class, the ones I mentioned, one in Miami and one in Salem, Oregon. So the instructor had to do the demonstration and they had to watch the instructor and the other students with an extra camera. They will eventually be in Toronto, and we have coordinated a workshop and extra tuition so that they can do the splicing and the gluing and all that other stuff. And same thing goes, I'm making light of this, but it was a struggle, but the same thing goes for the preservation in photography that was set up. There were extra cameras. Some classes were not hands-on, they were seminars, and the students themselves said, I don't want to come in, I'm not safe. So we had set up, in some cases, for in-person work, and that didn't happen. That's how we're doing with the lockdown. If there's any other questions, we can get back to it, but let's go on. I dismissed the part-time study, sorry about that. The next one, Daniel, do you want me to do this? Is that okay?
Yeah, go for it, go.
Okay. Would you say the program is more research focused in terms of career outputs or more hands-on? Alex, you tell me.
There's actually 2 questions that I'm going to, because I think there's 2 that are quite similar. So I'm just going to read them out. Oh, I just saw it. Where was that one that you were reading, Marta? About research focused.
It's under the part-time studies, and it's from Liaba.
Okay.
Is that how you pronounce your name, Liaba?
Okay, I can't find it, but
it's spelled weird, so it's fine.
No, it's good.
So your question, yes, there it is. Would you say the program is more research focused in terms of career outputs or more hands-on? I'm sort of going to combine that as well with, one of you mentioned that the thesis work is often more practical project oriented as opposed to purely academic writing. I'm curious if the research seminar courses are similar in this respect or are more traditionally academic. So I think what's really unique about this program is that it really is a balance between academia and practical hands-on experience. There are courses that, so for example, the courses that have permission to continue to be taught in some capacity on campus. There are courses, they are so practical that to not have that hands-on experience would be extremely difficult. And then there are more traditionally academic courses that are more lecture-based, discussion-based, and that type of thing. But there are also courses that are quite blended. So for me, actually, Thierry's history of photo course for me was like a really interesting experience, because we'd start with a lecture on a certain topic, and we would either be at the Art Gallery of Ontario or the Ryerson Image Center. And then the second half of the class would be more practical, where we actually have to go around and describe what we see, which sounds really easy, but you learn, especially under Thierry's tutelage, is not that easy to just describe and not bringing your own biases. So it's a really great mix of practical and academic. With regards to the career outputs, you can really go either way. So for example, I personally am looking to pursue a PhD, and there are previous alumnus that have, but there are also alumni that are working in very practical hands-on jobs. Dee Sela, who teaches the photo preservation course, works at the Archives of Ontario. She wrote her entire thesis on building housing and encasements for photograph collections. That is her passion, and she works very hands-on with collections. So you can go from anything from complete nerd PhD, academia, writing, teaching, to curator, to exhibition planner, to archivist, to image specialist. You have a really broad range of options.
Can I mention film examples like
Yes.
Jesse Brosseau, who's the co-director of the CFMDC, I'm just trying to think of another film student who's working in Montreal at the CCA digitization and head of that. Another film student who's a graduate was the director of all of Air Canada's digital assets. She's moved, I know, and she got 3 flights, but she's moved now. So Alex is a graduate of the still stream, as you can tell, but I'm very happy to send you, if you want to email me after this meeting, what I've compiled of alumni. It's not complete, but it does have as much as I know about what everybody's job is.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you.
I hope
And
that
also just
answered
to
those
remind
2
you guys,
questions.
So just to remind you, there is a list on the website as well under, I can put the link in the chat, but it gives you a list of some of the places that some of the alumni are working at, as well as the residencies and internships, just so you know.
Albert's got 2 questions about the
Yes.
internships. Do you find them ourselves or do we point you? I'll let Thierry ask that. And Albert also wanted to ask, what are the prospects of career options in film? And as I say, get in touch with me. I'll send you what people are doing. Thierry, do you want to answer that? Do the students find their own internship, or do you help them?
No, I mean, yes and no.
Depends on which one.
You look for them on your own, but under our guidance. So when you have an idea, you run it by us, and we say, yes, it's good. I mean, go for it. I mean, that would be matching. We don't leave you like, okay, now it's your internship, so you help yourself. Okay, no, it's part of a plan. When we have when I have classes, to discuss internship and residency, I say, okay, on what basis are you making that choice? Okay, you have decided to go for an archive. Why? It's a local archive. Have you considered something else, or it's just because it's easy, it's local? Okay, I don't want the easy solution. I always want something that relies on a rationale. And then, and then you start thinking about both your internship and your residency placement, because if you are trying something local here, maybe it's in the perspective of doing something internationally in a bigger institution. So the thing is to coordinate. So you will do it on your own. I will not apply for an internship for you. It's going to be you doing it on the institution's website most of the time. But we will have conversation to make sure that your choice is anchored in a perspective that will lead to what you want to do. Am I answering the question?
No, and somebody else has asked, Dylan has asked, I'm looking to brainstorm some ideal destinations for residency internships. Does Ryerson collect information on the specific programs available on the specific institutions? Dylan, and how? Who is that terrible guy who said I have binders full of women? Oh, Mitt Romney, years and years ago. Yeah. We have binders full of institutions where we have sent students for internships. And
over
then
the years.
As long as the program's been running. And then for the residencies, which are much more formal because they're 6 months and because many students go abroad, we have a whole list of our partners up to date. So lots and lots of hundreds of internships repeated all over the world. And Alex, you were going to say.
Oops, sorry. I was going to wait for you.
No, that's it.
Okay. I think the one thing, I'm just going to make sure I'm understood. So Dylan, it sounds like you're asking about was it Dylan? About the specific programs. So I think what's important to note is just to reiterate again, the internship is normally something that is already created, or there's some sort of internship program, generally speaking, already in existence at that institution. The quote unquote program for residency isn't a program that's created by that institution. It's created by our program. So basically every residency program is 2.5 days a week. You're focusing on your own thesis research, and the other 2.5 days a week, you're working quote unquote as a staff member at that institution. You're being trained. That's the core of the residency program. The specific projects that you will do will obviously change based on where you are. But I just wanted to, I think that, I'm not sure if that helps clarify that little confusion, but so internships are pre-packaged programs offered by other institutions, whereas the residency is a custom created program created by F+PPCM. Thierry, is that good? Am I making that clear?
No.
Okay.
I think that's the perfect way of doing it. And Dylan, I mean, if you have ideas, you say, oh, you know what? I love that institution. I would really like to do something there.
Well,
so we will ask more questions. We will always want to go beyond the I like, and but when we have answers to that question, then we get in touch with the institution and we see if it's possible. As Alex said, the residency program is tailored for you.
let me give 2 examples. One is a woman who graduated 2 years ago who was interested in Sami people in the Arctic Circle and then the northern part of the Scandinavian countries. And she found her internship at the Swedish Film Institute, locating and working on films of Sami people. The other example is Alex, who is interested in the words used in cataloging images from the Caribbean. Excuse me for potting.
Nope, you're
the
good.
potted history. And she found that there was a library in Cambridge in the UK, of the Commonwealth Institute Library. Is that what was called?
It was the Royal Commonwealth Society Department at the Cambridge University Library,
where there was a collection of things that she could work on and where she could be instructed in that library in various ways of taking care of collections. We've skipped one photograph.
Yes.
We can go back to this, and that's about the technologies, cameras, photographic processes that Jordi asked, rather than the photograph itself. Absolutely. We've got a student working right now on pack film and Polaroid instant film, and the technology is absolutely key to all sorts of institutional directions. So you'll find lots of places if you're interested in such things as, for example, 28mm film. I always want to go back to film. We had a student who went to Library and Archives Canada to work on 28mm or amateur film, and ended up making a number of very important discoveries. Okay, so recent graduates, have you had mature students looking to make career changes? Yes, we have one now. I'm going to say it's harder for you. Okay, I think it's very difficult to do that. There's nothing in the application processes, a process that you have to think about if you want to make a career change. But it's very difficult because it's really a career change. And again, get in touch with me and I'll put you in touch with the person who's doing it now. And she can tell you how that worked out.
Could I just chime in there? I'll say I'm not a mature student by any means, but after taking 3 years off, I think the hardest readjustment is the amount of reading that you're thrown into. There is a lot of reading. It's one of the things, Marta's like, oh, come on. I'm like, it's one of the things that makes the program, and this sort of comes back to that question about part-time studies. Initially, I was trying to enroll as a part-time, and now that I've done the program, I can see why there is no part-time option. You really have to be fully invested in it. So if you're a mature student, you can still do it. People definitely have. Just, I think it's that readjustment period is the amount of reading that you're doing, the amount of writing, just your brain is sort of like working at a pace that it maybe hasn't in a while, but you can do it.
I think there's also a question of part-time and because of money, because going to university is very expensive. And I think we should say that in your second year for the residencies, we have funding available to assist with your travel and other funding available beyond what the offer we make to you when you come into first year is. So that's something else that you should probably be aware of.
Marta, I'm going to add on to that as well. It was something I thought of, just bouncing back to residencies and internships. This is something that I learned in my year when we had videos from the students that I just finished. Something to keep in mind is that the idea of doing, say you're living in Toronto for the program, and you don't want to be in Toronto for your residency, but you think going international is too expensive, so you go to Ottawa. Keep in mind, you can stay within Canada and it can be more expensive than in Toronto. It can be more expensive than going abroad. I can't remember who, I think his name was Adam Thierry, but you remember the student I'm talking about. So if finances are a constraint, and that's, first of all, it's not something to be embarrassed about, it's something that a lot of students struggle with, really consider your means. And, you know, aside from the funding that can definitely help, just know that staying in Canada is not always a quote unquote cheaper option. So don't let that limit you for the experience that you're looking for.
No, ours is truly an international program,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what it's known for. Okay, 2 more questions. Thesis research, are we allowed to do a thesis not solely based on film photography preservation on museums as a whole? You'll have to get specific. Write that question again, please. Next, how many people are accepted into the program? Between 16 and 20 in both streams. In terms of the resume, are you looking for work experience, education, or both, or something else? We're looking, if you're, as I said before, for a good fit. So that it's hard to describe. It takes all sorts of ideas. We're looking for a commitment. We're looking for the passion that you have for this medium. Sometimes that's very clear because you volunteered every summer through high school in a small community archive. Sometimes it's very clear from what you write. Sometimes it's clear from what you've specialized in. It's hard to define, but I wouldn't worry, Bjorn, I wouldn't worry so much about it. Work experience, we're not, that's okay.
May I just pitch in very quickly on this? In your statement, if you could vote, you know, I've always loved photography. My grandma this, my grandma that, you know, and that's a good thing. Skip that part and get into, you know, what it means to have photographed, you know, in an historical perspective, you know, and the personal approach is key. But we are also assuming that we all love photography or film, you know, that's why we're here. Even at 7 p.m. And the other thing is on your CV, don't forget to mention, to list, item, category, awards. Did you get some? List them because they are part of the criteria. Okay. Experiences, also list them. Okay. Don't be shy. Okay. Put that forward because, when we assess applications, we have a list of criteria: statement, your GPA, your letter of references, your experiences, your awards. These are parts of that. So I'm thinking of that because many times I've read application and I thought, okay, so the statement, let me think that that person had experiences, but it's not listed. So how can I measure that? And I need to measure that. Okay. And so think about it. And if it's unclear, email me and I will, help you out with your CV.
Albert's rephrased his question. It's about the way museums preserve their artifacts. Absolutely. We have lots of work on that. That's absolutely critical, and not museums only, but about how libraries preserve, how archives preserve.
Archives, yep.
So that's absolutely, it's not on a photograph or photographs or films or, sorry, Albert, we absolutely we have students interested in that. We had a very good thesis not long ago about what happens to a photograph, a color photograph in a museum after it's been acquired by the museum, but it's fading or something. What part does the artist play in a restoration? That was a museum one. So how we've had quite a number of investigations in questions of archival and even libraries, the way they preserve what they have, because it's changed the professional not qualifications, the professional rules. No, that's not the right word. What's the word I'm looking for? Standards, thank you. Yeah, the standards have changed. And that's very much of it, because you're going to be working in these places. You need to know what those are. So that's always a very good topic of investigation.
The program is all about the objects and their life, how they circulate from a field to another until the moment they are in the museum. And even then, okay, we try to put them in perspective.
We keep using the word museum. So let's
glam.
Yeah, so let's make a clear statement. This is not a curatorial course. No. So if you really want to be a curator of film or photography, it's not the program for you, okay? There is a course, one course.
Yes.
You can become a curator, but this is not a curatorial focused program.
And you need to know that you can definitely go through the program because you need a master's degree to be a curator now. And
PhD, need a PhD.
If you wouldn't interrupt me, okay. I would be able to finish my sentence.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Yes, to be a curator, you need to have a PhD. Now, that's, at least in photography and I think in film too. So that's the prerequisite. So going through the program is not that bad, okay? But it's not the end. That's what you need to know. If you want to become a curator, going through the program is great. And we know people. I have, Kate Adelman-Frankel, for example. She came through the program, very successful. Then she went for a PhD in art history at U of T. And she's now the curator of the photographic collection at Cornell University. I think that's fine, so that the kind of, path that we can offer. And I think that just to insist on the balance of the hands-on approach and theoretical approach. I mean, I remember Kate, when she went to U of T in history of art, she was okay. you know, theoretically speaking, she wasn't behind at all. She was actually having some assets that other didn't have.
Yeah.
And I think that the asset that she had was her approach to objects,
Yep.
you know, in an historical approach. So I think, yes, it's not a curatorial. If you think you're going to be a curator after a master, you're wrong. Okay, that's not how it works anymore. Okay, it used to, but not anymore. But
I feel suitably
Crushing
chastised.
dreams, Thierry, crushing dreams.
Well, but you know, it's got to do.
It's the reality, though. It's the
It's got to-
reality.
I think you can know. I think it's great to be able
Yeah.
to say no. I mean, you're going to come in the program, you're going to learn some basics. And then, you know, when you will arrive with a PhD, because when you have a PhD, you know, and you apply for a curatorial position, what are they looking at? Your hands-on approach, you know, your hands-on experience. So then if you have a master like ours, okay, that with a 6 months experience in a gallery or in an archive, well, that's very valuable. That's my approach to the curatorial goals of students.
Have we answered everyone's questions? I'm just
I
going
don't
to
know, I'm
scroll
not
through.
checking.
I am. I think we have.
We haven't. Can I ask people some questions? Like I'd like
Yes.
to ask.
Oh.
Okay. Oops, there's another question. Okay,
Romney
Dylan.
S. Piners.
Is it available to prospective students? No. No. But I'll tell you how to think about it. Just think about any collecting institution anywhere in the world, and it's probably in there, okay? Because we've been at this for talking about internships now, not partnerships. Partnerships are a much longer, but internships, we've had students and
I think we're over 100 places, aren't we?
Yeah, and that's international.
Extremely long.
Yeah. So no, we haven't. The partnerships are online, and they too. Well, I'm not going to say that because they don't take internships. I'd like to know, Dylan. Is that okay? That's it? Okay. How can I find out how many people here are interested in film and how many in photo? Daniel, is there a way?
Oh, can we use the raise hand?
Can we use the raise hands or something?
I don't see a raise hand function.
Oh, I see.
Oh, a thumbs up.
Melissa.
Yeah.
Thumbs up. Yes, that's a
If you
good.
are in film, just do this, you know.
Okay, so can I see, Melissa, are you interested in film?
And just leave them up for a second
Okay,
so
film.
we can see.
I want to see film. Okay, okay.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Dylan, I'm not looking. You have to be an artificial hand, not a.
So if you don't, so to do the artificial hand, there's a button at the bottom that says reactions. If you click on that, it should give you a thumbs up option.
Okay, yeah, let's just see that again quickly, okay? Oh, that's great,
So
great. Okay.
it's pretty evenly split.
Yeah, okay. Okay, let's see the stills people up, okay? Still, let's see those hands up. And don't do it twice.
Nice.
Yeah, very nice. Okay, good.
That's a nice split.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for that. Just so, because, you know, it's very hard to talk to just names on black squares. I like the faces, though.
And we are missing students, as you can see. I mean, we are missing.
We miss the student. That's terrible. It's a terrible confession, but it's true. We miss the students because the program is, you may be able to tell just by having a graduate here, a recent graduate. I want to call you a student.
Don't you dare.
I will not. Is a very strong cohort, and that the jobs that you will get depend on those people who come before you. We have a Facebook page, and we have other ways. Alex is actually developing an alumni network. So the strength of the cohort is extremely strong. Would you agree, Alex?
Absolutely. And I mean, it does vary cohort to cohort, but as well, the relationships that you make with the year above and sometimes even below you, there are names that you don't really forget. So when you see something online or you see, oh, there's a job posting over at the Met. Oh, I know that there's an alumni over at the Met. Oh, there's connections all over the world. And the alumni network on Facebook is very active. People are constantly sharing things there.
That's because the stills stream, the stills part, is the only program in the world. The film stream is not. The film preservation program is the only one in Canada, but you probably know, if you're interested in looking at film preservation, that there's a program in New York, and there's one at UCLA. There's one in Amsterdam, a couple of in Italy, and a couple in Frankfurt, one in Frankfurt, excuse me. So Alex talking about this alumni network, it's very strong. It's very old in the photo stream. It's more recent in the film stream. It is very unique in the photo stream. It's only unique in Canada in the film stream.
No more questions?
Okay, I think we've exhausted all the questions.
We've exhausted all the people, probably.
Yeah, that.
Oh, well.
Well, what do you guys think? I just want to mention one last thing about admissions. I actually forgot to mention this. When you submit your application, make sure your application is complete. And that includes submitting or uploading every single document that they ask you for. Otherwise, we will not be able to see it. Simple as that. So it gets stuck in the admissions sort of bubble, and then it doesn't get to us. And you can do that simply by logging into the portal. Once you get the email from Ryerson, you can log into the portal and you see like a to-do list on the side of what you're missing, like resume, student statement, those kinds of things. And then the other thing was for the letters of recommendation, make sure you contact your referees, let them know that they will receive an email directly from Ryerson. So they don't have to give you the letter and you upload it. Once you enter the information on the OUAC system, they will be contacted by Ryerson, and they have to get the email, respond to it through a link, upload the letter directly there. It doesn't go through you. So make sure after you've received the email from Ryerson, maybe about 3 or 4 days later, follow up with them to make sure they got it. It doesn't go into their spam box or something like that. Just because I know we've seen some applicants that their one letter recommendation gets lost in spam and it's never sent, and therefore we don't get to see the application. So very important to check those things.
Daniel, can I just say as well, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure because I had this experience, so I'm speaking from firsthand experience here, guys. The letter of recommendation, if you're looking to meet that January 18th deadline, that includes those letters, correct, Daniel?
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Yes. So
everything has to be done.
Don't leave it until the day before your application to double check with I did this. Don't leave it until the last minute. Contact your referees early, so that if the emails take a few days or it's in their spam and they have to find it, you can still meet that deadline. It will save yourself a lot of anxiety.
And I want to say something about referees too, and I see Cherry does too. I'm assuming, unless you are changing careers, that your referees are going to be academic referees, and we've often been asked, what about professional referees? That is fine too, but one of them has to be, I think that's right. Should be for us.
Academic, yeah.
Yeah, it has to be as far as we're concerned, an academic referee, because there's an academic component to this program, which is strong. Thierry.
Mara and I we are writing letter of recommendation. The worst thing when you are being asked to write a letter of recommendation is when you read, yeah, it's for the end of the week. Yeah. Then you just don't want to do it. So you're gonna do it, right? But you
it's not gonna be as good as it could be if you gave them more time. So
exactly. So I would highly suggest that you give your referee a few weeks, if not, I think according to the deadline this year, asking your referee, to write a letter before Christmas, that makes sense. Second, give them something. Why are you applying? Give them something that they can. We know how to turn that around and do something of it, but we need something, and we can't invent it. That's for sure. So I think, think about that, because if not, we know how to read letters, and we know that letter was written at the very last minute. That we can see, definitely. I was wondering, shall we talk about very briefly, maybe about the new BIPOC scholarship?
Yes.
It's, I think it's, yeah, I mean, if you identify as a BIPOC student, you will be eligible for the BIPOC scholarship. And it's one of the biggest scholarship that I've ever seen, because it represents something between, it's $22,000 a year. And it should be working for 2 years. So we are still working to finance it properly. Why 22? Because we saw that we tend to cover part of the Canadian tuition, 12 to have a 1,000 stipend per month to live. And we actually have 2,500 more to hire a mentor from the community that would help, the students to benefit from the program appropriately. So I want to mention that, because Daniel, we might have a box to check, right, in the application process.
Yeah, we'll do. So we'll upload it to the website once it's live and becomes sort of official. So you guys are sort of getting the first scoop on that, which is great. And we'll have a way for you guys to identify if you're interested in applying, probably online through the website. And in terms of other scholarships and stuff like that, just as a quick overview, I think it was briefly mentioned. So the program does offer, based on your admissions application, does offer some funding, right? You don't have to apply or do anything, just submit your application, and that's based on obviously competition, budget, and availability. There's also the bigger scholarships, the Ontario scholarships, for example, the Ontario Graduate Scholarship, which is $15,000. And that one is, you apply for that one. You qualify for that one in March, again, with your admissions application. So you don't have to do anything right now. But if you are eligible, we'll contact you and let you know, please submit this application form, and then we'll push it through the process. Students are also eligible for SHIRK, which is $17,500 per year. So for that one, it's interesting because unless you've already applied for it now, because I think the deadline was actually today, for first year, it's more likely you'll be able to apply for that for your second year. So, and the application for that, again, so next fall, you would apply for funding for your second year into the program. And then on top of that, there's a couple other scholarships, but those are more internal program-based scholarships that we sort of notify the students once they're ready for applications. And then don't forget also to visit the Graduate Studies website, which has a list of all the other scholarships that are open to everybody. And some of them, and I think, Alex, you found a couple in there that for specifically for residency or for travel and stuff like that.
There's some that are available for international travel if you're doing an internship or residency abroad. You can find, or if you're going to conferences, there's definitely scholarships. You really just have to do some digging and talk to the staff.
I have a question for the process of checking the grades and such for people who've done the undergrads. Do you count mostly like the 3,000, 4,000 level courses, or just the courses that were taken in the last 2 years of your undergrad?
Yeah, so admissions will sort of do those calculations. Generally speaking, they'll take the equivalent of the last 2 years of your courses, right? So it does depend a little bit on your program or how you did your program. So if you do the standard 4 years, 5 courses each term, they'll basically take the last 2 years, evenly. If for whatever reason, maybe you had an extra year that you only took 1 course or 2 courses that semester, or you took a leave of absence, or you did an exchange and there's no grades for that, for example, they might go back a little bit farther just to find the equivalent of the total of your degree. They'll take half of it, the equivalent to the last 2 years, I should say. And we say half because it's, generally speaking, the minimum requirement is 4 years, right, for the BFA, for the degree. Sorry, that's why.
Okay, thank you.
No worries.
It's 8 past 8 past 7. Oh boy. I think, oops, there's one last question. If we're applying from an MA, yeah, we have that. I don't, okay. Do you look at my MDM transcript?
Yes.
Oh, thank you. I
Answer
don't
is
know.
yes. We look at every transcript of everything you've done after high school, basically, if that makes it easier. So undergrad, any other degrees. If you go on an exchange and you do have the grades from that, they may ask you to upload those as well. Basically, they want to look at everything you've done in the past.
Sorry, so we upload our undergrad and MDM transcripts.
Correct, yeah.
Okay. What if we're doing our MDM program right now?
That's fine. You'll upload a transcript of whenever you do complete your application. So let's say you submit your application at the end of this term and you have the grades for the fall term for the current degree. You'll submit a transcript for your undergrad, everything, completed degree, and then you'll submit the transcript of the current degree you're doing, which may have grades for the fall, and it's saying, continues until the winter for the following, and that's fine. And when you're submitting transcripts, and this actually goes for everybody, you can actually submit unofficial transcripts during the application process, right? So you don't have to, if you don't want to, if it's getting hard right now because some of the universities are closed and things like that, you can't get an official transcript right away. You can submit unofficial transcripts for the application process. But if you get accepted in the program, then you will need to submit official transcripts. And the definitions, basically, it has to come from the university that you attended. Okay, but just so you know, if it makes it easier, just submit an unofficial, and that's fine.
You can see how we divide the work here, can't you? Daniel knows everything about administration, transcripts, and I'll just let you figure out the rest of it. But that's where that intelligence lies, is right there.
We work as a good team. That's it.
So shall we say good night, everybody? We're supposed to be an hour, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
No more questions for sure.
Oh, hold on. Is there info about scholarships online? I think there's a section about funding on the website, if I remember correctly, right, Daniel?
That is correct. ryerson.ca/F+PPCM. And then go under the admissions section and you'll find it. We'll post it. Just give me one sec.
Thank you for all your thank yous. Be in touch, okay? If we could get out of this pandemic, it would be nice to meet in person. I know that is all our dream. It's certainly ours. And oh, from Germany. Oh, how great. We've had a great student from Germany who's now working in Berlin. So this is really great. We love international students and we're really happy to have your questions, and see you in the fall, looking for a new world. Bye.
Bye, everyone.